Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Season 3 of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm Jack, joined by
Dominic, Steve,
Giovanni.
All right. So, it has been, it's been a while since our last episode. I think we recorded Monday, or was it Tuesday? I forget. But, you can consider it quite an eventful week just because of all that happened. But before we get into that, how are you two been?
I have been pretty pog champ. Aside from the events that have occurred, the big time events, school has been pretty okay. I have finally been put off from jury duty. Thank God. The process itself, thankfully, was very slow. It was very slow, but I got into the courtroom, right? I waited there. It was like 150 people in there just waiting around. Everybody does not want to be there, but being in there, I was just kind of nervous because I had no idea what I was doing. But I mean, I guess I stood my ground. Funny enough, like the first 10 people that they began to call off names, was for whether they want to voluntarily. Volunteer. Okay. They all wanted to just, I guess, go ahead to become a juror themselves without being forced against their will. And so I stood there for a whole hour, and then they call off my name to just go home. We don't need you because they already have people that they have candidates for. I'm like, okay, man, that's cool, man. But I guess that saga is over. I don't have to go to jury duty for a whole year, thankfully, and I didn't have to make up an excuse. I just, it is what it is. Aside from that, I'm finally gonna be installing in my cool room things on my room, and I'm also thinking of maybe potentially buying decals, like liveries, based off the Room's 1994 rally room. For the room. Yeah, nothing much else. It's been pretty slow in terms of work as well. But work is still pog champ regardless. Pog money pog. And yeah, it's been pretty okay so far.
How about you, Gio?
Life's been pretty good. I've been called into work a lot, which is pretty poggers, more money and all that for school. Been hanging out with the girlfriend again. We started playing The Forest together. It was pretty cool. There's I didn't know the game was that deep, to be honest with you. What else has been going on? I mean, there's not much else to say besides the events that happened. So yeah, life's pretty good, bro.
Alright, as far as me, from the rest of this week, nothing much, just been having a lot of fun. I've been replaying through Spider-Man, and I've just been having a lot of fun playing that game. Has really good replay value. And then, there's a couple other games that I bought to start my 2023 off. A couple of games from the list, obviously, and then a couple of games I need to start replaying through or finish playing through, But let's get into sort of one of the main topics of today's episode, and that is what went down on Wednesday, the highlight of the week. We went to AEW at the Forum live. We got to see Dynamite and Rampage when they taped it, and it was quite the experience. But so the first thing, obviously, that you gotta talk about when it comes to going to any event, how was your guys' experience with not only getting to the venue but then parking at the venue?
Well, getting there was It was sort of smooth. It wasn't so bad. Well, it was kind of like disappointing. Between what was the difference between general and the VIP? Because VIP was just on the right side of the venue, and the general was on the left side. And I understand that for the general parking, there is a chance that you might not even get general parking because it's free and it gets quickly filled up. But I still saw many free spaces. But anyways, the line itself was pretty slow. We just kept, going forward and stopping, going forward and stopping, going forward and stopping. But thankfully, I guess we got the VIP pass, so we got a quicker parking spot, and Gio and I got out. We walked around a bit, and we went in. I believe it was section 101.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 101, row 14, and seats we got seats 1 through 5. And we got in, and I believe they already had some fights beginning off before we got there, and so we got to see a couple of small time fights before the main events, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty nice. The only bad thing was that in front of us there was this couple that was constantly vaping, and it was just so annoying. The funny thing is the fan to the right of me, every time the couple would smoke, and you would see the vape clouds, the vape, whatever. The guy next to me, Gio, and I would always wave our hands and try to make it obvious to the couple in front of us that we do not want to be smelling that stuff. But it was they didn't stop until midway the event went until they left. Jesus, man, it's like they did not read the warning saying no vape pens. Man.
I don't mean to be mean or offend anyone, but they're addicts. What do you expect, dude? They don't follow the rules.
Like that. Oh, also, what was I gonna say? Okay, this is gonna be a little bit weird of me. In the middle of the event, these two people were doing a live stream, right? I think it was an Instagram live stream, and then for just a glimpse of a second, I was able to actually catch the name of the live stream. I'm not gonna point out the name, but I was able to get into the live stream and then just quickly type out "Yo, stop vaping, stop vaping! We don't want to smell that." And I'm pretty sure for a split second they actually saw the message I sent, but they never decided to look back. And thankfully they never did, because I just started to begin acting out as if I've been just watching the match the entire time and not trying to sabotage their little addiction per se. But yeah,
What's it called? What's it called?
It didn't stop them regardless.
They probably thought it was just one of the fans, because think about it, it could be anyone that's behind them, But yeah, that's funny that you went out and did that. That's funny.
That couple made me uncomfortable for a different reason. Every time they stood up, the woman would just wrap her hand around the guy's waist every single time. Not a single time went by where she didn't do it. It was just making me uncomfortable. I don't know why. It was just too much. It was too much affection in public. I don't understand. That and the vaping, obviously, it was cringy.
Yeah.
It was a little crazy, yeah.
What's it called? Our experience was very much more difficult than Dom's in terms of the parking. It took us a bit of time to get there, and we got there with plenty of time actually. We did get there around I want to say 4, but by that time so much is already filling up in the parking lot, and there's all these people trying to get into the lots, and they're closing off different entrances, and we get to a point where it's oh, for the people with the parking passes, turn right to get in, but then one of the workers starts telling everyone, oh, go to SoFi for parking. So we turn left, we go to SoFi, and they tell us, oh, it's back over there. And we're like, oh, they sent us here. And they're like, oh, no, you got to go back there for your parking pass. So we had to go all the way back and then wait in a line. And then we finally got in, we finally parked. And then we had to go, enter through. There was some guy that, I don't know what it was. I guess he was trying to hide something, that he kept going through a metal detector, and they kept like waving him down, trying to see what it was. So that took off more time from us. And then finally, when we got through, we had to find our seats. And the part that sucks to me is we missed the opening, because by the time we got in there, it was already 5. So we missed the opening. We missed John Moxley's Wild Thing entrance, where he enters through the crowd. And we barely caught a glimpse of Hangman's entrance, because he did his entrance and then immediately went to start fighting John Moxley. So our parking experience was a bit rougher, but still got there, still had a lot of fun. And let's see, I guess let's just kind of talk about it. Starting off with the opening match, what did you guys think about it between John Moxley and Hangman Adam Page? Hangman Adam Page was the one that was in all the sparkly gear. John Moxley was not to be mean, but he was the semi-bald dude. What did you guys think of that match? Because even though I've said on the podcast before, this was my first wrestling event seen live, and this was their first wrestling event also live, but also like I don't know if it's the first ever event you guys have ever watched, or I know it's not, but like different seeing live, and plus it's from a promotion you guys don't even know anything about. So what do you guys think?
I was a bit confused because the crowd kept like changing who they were rooting for. So I was like, who am I supposed to be cheering on for? Because I don't know them. And then there's obviously like a favorite, but they kept changing it up, and I was like, okay, so now we're going for what was his name, Hangman?
Yeah,
Hangman, and then John Moxley. I was like, who am I supposed to root for? But it was kind of cool because Hangman was getting his ass kicked, but then he like turned it around at the end and he ended up winning the match, which is really cool. But it was kind of predictable. Like I saw it, like as soon as it started happening, I was like, oh, something's gonna happen. He's gonna come back. He's gonna win the match. But it was for like the first match. It was actually pretty good, cause yeah, I liked it. It was a good solid match between two sweaty men. Yes.
What about you, Dom?
I was also a little confused on who was who. But I kind of like the audience following through with the punches, like when they I'm not sure what it's called, like when they keep sucking punching this like once and over and over and over, and the crowd is like oh and like oh I thought that was funny. I like that. It's little jokes, I guess I could say. But overall, I enjoyed it. It was pretty cool. And nothing much I could say. Also it being my my first ever live fight. It was pretty, I guess, intense. Whenever the audience riled up for any special moves that were thrown in. So, yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I would say that was probably the most confusing part for you two, is again because you don't know the wrestlers, you don't know the promotion. It was probably confusing at times to see how the crowd interacted. But for me, it's because I've watched it for so long. It's I could almost sense what moments were coming. That's why the audience riled up when Hangman would stand on the outside, because they knew he was going to go for his finishing move, the buckshot lariat. Or anytime John Moxley got the arms hooked on Hangman, they knew he was going for his finisher. I think they call it the Death Rider now. I don't think it's called the Paradigm Shift anymore. But yeah, that's also partly on me for not explaining a lot going into it. But so the story going into it was that last year these two had fought, and what ended up happening in the match is that, you remember in this match when we saw the clothesline spot where Hangman completely flipped upside down?
Uh-huh.
They did that spot in the match last year, but Hangman essentially like landed on his head and knocked himself out with a concussion. And so that match had to end early, and they had to stretcher the guy out. And so the whole build up to this match was that Hangman returned. He had this concussion, and the whole reasoning behind the fight, as he explained in the promo, I think it was like last week, was that he was basically upset with Jon Moxley, that he just wanted to mock him and make fun of him the moment he came back about the fact that he had a concussion, that like, you know, to add like emotional weight to the story, like the concussion was so bad it made him not even remember his own son's name when he came back to like in the ambulance. So like that was the whole reasoning for this fight. That was the whole kind of like story being told, was Moxley was gonna keep targeting that head, you know, because Hangman just had a concussion, and Hangman was trying to overcome all the odds. And personally, I'm a fan of both guys. I'm a real big fan of Hangman Page, and this is some of his best work to date. Because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, he's kind of been on a cold streak, not in terms of like wins and losses, but like creatively, you know, like when it comes to the stories that he's involved in, he's kind of been on a cold streak for a bit. At least, especially with like a lot of the fans. I've enjoyed his work, but a lot of the fans kind of think he's been on a cold streak. So this was a nice refresher to see him get back to form of old. And to be honest with you, the whole point of this story was to kind of divide the audience on who they wanted to support. So that's why you saw so much fanfare going either way. But that was a real fun match to watch. Let me double check something real quick. I should have, you know, had this pulled up previously. But I believe the next thing we saw was what was the next thing that we saw? Okay, well, I don't know if it was next, like immediately right after this, but you guys, without even knowing, you guys got to witness a surprise return happening live with no one in the audience even knowing it was going to happen, without even knowing what you guys were watching. But so Adam Cole makes his return after being injured since like last year around May or June-ish time. And that place exploded. I jumped out of my seat because I didn't even expect that to happen. What were your guys' thoughts on that whole thing?
Well, I mean, I tried to follow. I just try to follow the rest of the audience. I'm like, yo, whoa, that's crazy, you know. I'll be honest, because you know I don't really know much about this. I just, you know, if it were to not look excited, I would probably be turned against and be held hostage. You know, it is what it is. I guess I got goosebumps whenever everybody was like, oh, you know, it's him. He's back. He's coming in again. That's crazy. Yeah, I guess, you know, I don't know how else to put it, Jack. I'll be honest. As much as I wanted it to be exciting, you know, without the context of, you know, anybody, I was just confused every time, you know, there was a special return. And I just didn't know who they were, you know, without an explanation. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool.
What about you, Joe?
Pretty much the same thing. I had no idea who the guy was, or why he was important, or why was it, like, you know, why everyone was reacting like that. So I was just kind of like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, Marco actually called it when we were on the drive over. He literally told Mr. Solis as a joke, he's like, imagine if Adam Cole makes his return. And that's why when it happened, him and Mr. Solis were like, you called it. Like, we were going crazy because, again, we have the context to it. But yeah, that was pretty insane to see. I wasn't expecting that. No one was really expecting it, because there were, like, usually in the wrestling world, a lot of stuff gets leaked easily to, like, the media and the journalists, you know, and stuff gets leaked about when someone's making their debut for a company, who's making their return. And I'll see if I can find the image for you guys. A lot of times when they have someone, you know, that's like being a surprise, whether it's they're debuting or returning, they go through all this effort where, like, they'll put them in a black van with the windows heavily tinted and they have like a towel or like a hoodie covering their face. When they were driving Adam Cole to the arena, he literally had his hoodie on, strings pulled all the way, and was laying on the floor of the SUV he was in, face down, so that no one could see him and see who it was. And that's how far they went. And to make sure that nothing got leaked internally, they had it labeled as a to be decided promo, so that no one would even know who was coming out. And they didn't even let the announcers know, except the guy in the ring who had to announce him, which is why he said, because they have a little bit of a, not a rivalry, but like disdain for each other. That's why he was like, oh, I don't announce this next opponent with much pleasure. But everyone else, like, basically they made sure it was a top surprise for everyone in the building, including their own announcers. So it was a pretty cool moment to see. Very loud reaction, and really good promo from him about, just coming back. And he gave people quite a scare when he was talking about the bad news, and everyone was like, he was talking about his injury. Does this mean he's not coming back yet? Is he gonna actually like retire right here in front of us? But nope, just back and ready to get back to where he left off in AEW. It was a really cool moment. The next match was between Big Bill and Lee Moriarty, and then Jungle Hook. The main thing I want to ask here is mainly just to Dom. Dom, how did it feel to hear or to see a wrestler come out with Action Bronson music as his theme song?
The second I heard Action Bronson, that very first second, I just immediately pointed to you. I'm like, yo, it's Action Bronson, it's Action Bronson. I thought it was pretty awesome hearing the man himself. I wouldn't have thought that they would have played Action Bronson. It's kind of surprising. But, I mean, hearing it now, it is a little weird because, like, the character doesn't fit, I guess, the image as someone that is Action Bronson. He's Action himself is like a big burly guy. He's big. But Hook himself was not big. It was like I guess built, sort of slim, but he was built. But anyways, it was pretty cool listening to the Bronson man.
Yeah.
I liked it.
The one thing I like about AEW is that it's obviously because of the fact that Tony Khan and his dad have a lot of money that they're able to do this. But I like that for a lot of wrestlers, especially the special attractions, like the biggest acts in the company. They're not afraid to go out and get licensed music for you, which is why Jon Moxley has Wild Thing. Hook has Action Bronson's song. I think Jack Perry, the other guy that was teaming with Hook, he has a licensed song. I think Orange Cassidy has a licensed song, which we didn't hear for whatever reason when he popped out. But I know I'm missing a couple more. But yeah, they get some licensed music time and time again, and it's pretty cool to see them like actually get like not just like some generated theme song for some of these guys. The next match is one I just want to hear what you guys have to say, and then I'll give my opinions. But the next match was between Bryan Danielson and Konosuke Takeshita, 1-on-1. We did see MJF come out and interrupt, and as I told Mr. Solis, the funny part about this was when MJF's music hit, the guy that was sitting next to Gio and Dom jumped out of his seat and started basically screaming, "My GOAT, it's my GOAT." And I'm not the biggest fan of MJF, so I looked at Mr. Solis and was like, oof, if that's his GOAT, I don't want to know what the rest of his list looks like. But what did you guys think of, firstly, that promo from MJF where he was calling out the different celebrities in the crowd, obviously talking down the city that he's in, because that's a cliche thing he does. And what he said to Takeshita, because that caught some flame on social media, if you want to say.
Really?
Blatant racism.
Yeah, that's what got people. Apparently, it was cleared with the guy. Like, he cleared it and said he was fine with doing it, but a lot of people just still were like, because they feel it's not like it, obviously, you know, they're against, just like how Gio said, the blatant racism, but also they're like, they know MJF can do much better work on the mic, so it's kind of upsetting that he just continues going to the lowest hanging of fruit, you know.
Mm-hmm. I thought his character was really annoying, which is kind of the point, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't find it entertaining at all. I hate characters like that, and he was just like, I don't know. I just wanted him to get off of the stage. But for the match itself, I really wanted, what's his name? Takeshita to win. Takeshita. I really wanted him to win, because you know, Japan and stuff. What's the other guy's name? The American Dragon or something?
Yeah, Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, I was like, ew. I don't know. I just felt like the other guy should have won. Takeshita should have won. I was rooting for him.
What about you, Dom?
I was also. I thought that MGF's the character was like. I'm pretty sure he was meant to be like the character everybody hates, but he always just throws in like, you know, hard hitting jokes. I felt I kind of laughed, not laughed, but I just kind of enjoyed the little just bits of just, you know, blatant racism he just threw around. I didn't know. What do you mean by that? I like the little. I like the fact that he just pointed out that. What was his name? Kevin.
No, Ken Jeong.
Ken Jeong, not Kevin. Ken Jeong, yeah. He was in the audience, and I'm like, yo, what? He's there. He's just. It was kind of random that it was just him that was just there. Like, I wonder if he was there. If he was paid to be there, it was just. I just have no idea why he was just wrestling. You know,
they get a lot of celebrities to show up. They get a lot of rappers to show up. They get a lot of celebrities. Freddie Prinze Jr. was also in the house.
Oh yeah.
And then the guy from later on in the segment in the show, we saw the guy from Cobra Kai was also there.
Oh yeah, the guy that got hit by the guitar.
Yeah, well, what's it called? I will say, it like again, it's the lowest hanging of fruit to what's it called? To look at a non-American, and first off, to kind of demonstrate to you guys, just because you don't know the characters, but this guy Takeshita basically has barely spoken a word in AEW. He actually comes from a Japanese promotion, obviously. He's not spoken much in AEW. He's just had matches, and through those matches, he's gotten so over that when he retaliated to MJF, like speaking to him in his native language of Japanese, the whole crowd erupted and cheered for him, despite not knowing a single word of what he said. And it was even so much better as like retaliation when MJF, of course, is like, oh, we speak American here, and he retaliates saying, I said kiss my ass, and then they should have let him put hands on MJF. That's the one part that annoys me, is they didn't let him put hands on MJF, and instead MJF like shoves him, and he's like, oh, get him out the ring, and all that. Like that's the annoying part, which of course you're supposed to not like MJF, but that just goes to show how over this guy is. Again, because it's Japan, they've been wrestling for like a long time. So I want to say he's been wrestling for like 10 plus years at this point. So he's wrestled quite a lot, and he's getting quite over. And the rumors are right now that he's expected to get quite the push in AEW. But the one downside for me to this whole thing was that MJF's promo went on for so long that it likely cut time from the match, and I would have just much rather more time go to the match. But Bryan Danielson comes out, chases out MJF, and I really enjoyed this match, and just the back and forth between these two, all the different like hard hits, all the different chops, all the different stomps, kicks. Takeshita hit him with a what's it called, a lariat off the top rope, which was cool to see. All the different counters that these two were going into, and I was wearing my Bryan Danielson shirt because I've been such a big fan of him. Not I haven't really gotten the chance to speak about it, but Bryan Danielson is actually the guy who got me back into wrestling on multiple different occasions, really. But yeah, he's the one that got me back into wrestling, and definitely something like I'd have to go more into detail on, like a sports podcast episode about talking about him, because man, he truly is one of the greatest of all time. And so this man was able to just come out here with whatever time he had and put on a match of the year candidate with Takeshita and really help him get over with that crowd. But I agree with your guys' sentiment, because a lot of times Takeshita shows up and he loses in a lot of these matches, but I know his time's coming, and I'm really hoping the best for it. Let's see. Oh, we got 13 minutes left. So real quickly, the women's match, the tag match between Saraya and Toni Storm and Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. So you guys obviously aren't in the know about anything going on in this company, so it's kind of the thing I want to hear from you guys, because you guys don't have the expectation or bias that a lot of the fan base had. But going into this, they teased that a person right now who is like a free agent was possibly going to show up at this show and be a part of this match. And so when it didn't happen, a lot of people were disappointed with it. I want to know what you two kind of thought without, because you guys didn't have that like information ahead of it and just got to watch the match for what it was.
Is that the match where it was kind of like this blonde, short-haired wrestler who was taking a beating, and then her like teammate didn't do anything?
Pretty much.
Is that though? Yeah, that match was so bad. I was like, in my opinion, I don't know anything, but as an outsider, I guess that match was really bad, because you have the one team was bullying one of the blonde with short hair wrestler. She was getting beaten up live for free, and the teammate's like in the corner somewhere. She gets hit once. She got hit once. She was out for like 10 minutes, and then when she finally gets back up, she gets hit again once, and then she's out for another 10. And then the other lady's doing she's trying to do everything by herself. Teammate's not helping. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand. Like, it should be more fair. Like, one team Team A is, beating up the other one, but Team B makes a comeback. But then Team A gets it again. More of a tussle. This was literally just watching a poor woman get beat up for 20 minutes, and her teammate did nothing. I didn't like it.
So you want to hear the reasoning behind this? And I already know you're going to be like, You're going to like call it stupid even more and be like, in a sense, why is she in the match then? Her tag partner is returning after being retired from wrestling for I want to say, 4 or 5 years now or something like that. I want to say it was 4 years where she got an injury that basically if you want to say, I think it was a neck injury or something, or a spinal injury or something that could have left her paralyzed, but she finally got cleared after 4 years to come back to wrestle. So they can't be overly aggressive, if you want to say, with her. So that's kind of the reason why in a lot of her matches as of lately, you don't see too much action from her, because they're trying to ease her back in. But then the argument could be made, why is she even in the match then? Or a big profile match like this, if she's not going to get, a lot of action, and as Gio was pointing out.
Yeah, have her do a bunch of practice matches and offline. Don't put her on the stage where she does nothing for 20 minutes and that makes no sense. Like it makes sense. She came back from a serious injury, and she still wants to do it, but she can't go 100% at it. But it's kind of like it's kind of pointless to be there if you're not gonna put on a show for the fans. It seems kind of like contradictory to have her on the show, but she can't be entertaining. Is that mean? I don't know. I just feel like that's like the logical thing to do. I guess. I don't know. Tom, what did you think of the match?
No, I definitely agree with your statements here, Joe. But now that you pointed the little background, the little context, Jack. Well, yeah, it's kind of. I just feel like it's a little, it's bad. It's worse. It's unfair. But not gonna lie, I didn't really much enjoy the fight as I thought I would. I mean, I tried to try not increase my expectations, try to keep an open mind. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't feel like everybody else, I guess, enjoyed it as much. I tried to enjoy it. It wasn't.
Wait, was that the same match where the third woman came out with a stick?
Yeah.
So I guess now with this new information, was she there just to make sure that the other one didn't get hurt?
Not only that, but Saraya, the girl with the black hair, and that was teaming with Toni Storm, the one with the short blonde hair. Mm-hmm. She picked Toni Storm to be her partner for this match, and she'd have felt slighted because she was like, oh, I'm picking one of the best in the world, and then she picked Toni Storm, and so she was like, what the hell? You're just gonna do me like that? You're not gonna pick me, So that's why the story was oh, people thought she was gonna attack Toni and all that for taking her spot, but so she comes out to help him to kind of falsely elude the fans away from that idea. But then, she tries to help him later in the match when she throws the kendo stick in, but she throws it in the middle, and so the other team gets to it first, and so it's you can't technically blame her and say it's her fault, and say it's her turning on them, but it puts the pieces there for an eventual heel turn for her, to turn on Saraya and Toni Storm. I will add, a lot of the fans enjoyed the parts where Jamie Hayter, the other woman, the AEW Women's Champion, and the one who has the blonde sort of streaks in her hair, they enjoyed her parts when she was wrestling Toni Storm. Any other part that didn't involve those two, the fans pretty much didn't enjoy. And like I was mentioning at the start, a lot of the fans ended up crapping on the match and the build to it because of what happened afterwards, which was the biggest swerve, especially for the live audience. The women are walking out after their victory, and then the lights go out, and you think, oh, snap, is it going to happen? Is that free agent going to show up? And then it's just a commercial for AEW Rampage. So, yeah, a lot of fans were not too happy with that. But with the remaining 6 minutes and 40 seconds, I want to know what your guys' opinions were on the main event, the end of the best of 7 series, tied at 3-3. Death Triangle essentially has come to the point where they're like the Warriors. They're blowing a 3-1 lead over the Elite. So here they are in the final match of the best of 7 for the AEW Trios titles. The Elite versus Death Triangle in an Escalera de la Muerte match. Basically, a ladder match of death if you don't speak Spanish. What do you guys think of it?
That was the best match of the night. Undisputed. They were doing so many good things that it was just from start to finish. I mean, at the start I was confused because whenever there was more than 2 wrestlers in the ring, I would lose everyone and I couldn't keep track of what was happening. But then once everyone started putting in the ladders in the thing and started going for the belts on top, then I kind of I was back in it. And it was so good, dude. When the guy went up 5-6 steps on the ladder, and then he just completely threw himself and landed on the guy outside. I was like, holy cow, that's really cool. Yeah, but for me, that was 10 out of 10 match. I really liked it.
Yeah, same. The overall intensity of the crowd. I felt like that's what gave me like the biggest chills because everybody was being riled up. Anytime someone was gonna do like a big time move, like either jump off from ladder, use the ladders, use everything else. I'm not gonna lie, I really much did enjoy that main event, and it was something to remember. I thought that those moments in that fight made it worth the time to be. Yeah, it was awesome. It was cool. It was pog.
Yeah.
Nothing much else.
And I'm not gonna sit here and act like AEW is the perfect promotion. They have their ups and downs. They have things that they do right, they don't do right. I don't know if it's something you guys notice, but it's quite one of the biggest sort of criticisms they get. I don't know if it's like an official thing, but they almost have what is like a policy, if you want to say, where they only have usually one women's match per show, and that kind of catches a lot of flack because it's like, how do you expect your women's division to get better if you only give them one match a night, But they usually operate at a high level. They usually get a lot of good like fanfare and all that. So much so that people's main complaint with this match was that it didn't get enough time for them to do even more stuff, I think they only got like 15 minutes at the end of the day, and so people were upset that it wasn't longer. But I almost want to say that, yeah, it could have been a bit longer. They could have maybe done a couple more spots. But that fast-paced, where like how Gio was saying, you couldn't even keep up with what was going on. Like, you have 1 second, Kenny Omega's doing a dive where Pac dodges, and so Kenny Omega goes back first through a table, only to then look in the corner and see that Pac escaped just to get dove on and go through another table that was set up on the outside in the corner. You had Pentagon hitting a package power driver on the ladder just to have Rey Fenix get caught by Kenny Omega and hit with a one-winged angel off the ladder to the ring mat. It was chaotic, it was fun, and the crowd went crazy when the Elite won. And overall, at the end of the day, I mean, obviously there was stuff that happened at the Rampage recording, like how Gio brought up. We got to see the Cobra Kai guy come out for a segment that involved him getting hit by Jeff Jarrett with a guitar. Spoiler, because that's actually airing tonight.
Oh, dude,
we got to see. We got to see a spoiler. We got to see the Acclaim mess up their entrance live and have to go back with the crowd chanting "You effed up" at them. We got to see a title match happen, another title match happen that opened Rampage, and we got to see a street fight, a bloody street fight that ended the night. But overall, with 2 minutes left, what would you guys rate the experience?
It was a solid 7.5 because there was a lot of, like, in my opinion, like maybe both of the women's matches were snoozers. And I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Kind of like there was a lot of snoozing matches, like snoozer matches. But like the main event was really good. The first main event was really good. The second main event for Rampage was very underwhelming because I don't know. I expected more.
What do you think, Dom?
I would overall rate everything else. Same thing with Gio, an 8. But not gonna lie, the overall matchup was pretty cool. I like the Acclaim, messing up and them doing a restart. I wonder how that's gonna look like in the final take. I wonder if they're gonna completely cut that part out and just include where they perfectly do their raps.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the rap itself. A little political, but it was. I enjoyed it. The rhymes were not okay.
People were getting offended at that rap, and I told my dad it's funny that like the moment he calls out Joe Biden and Gavin Newsom, people want to be offended, but they've had no issue with him in the past calling out other politicians.
Yeah.
Oh, and 35 seconds left.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. It was PogChamp. Yeah.
I have a different sort of bias because I follow this promotion almost weekly at this point, and I like have a lot of content. That was like, honestly, like a 9 out of 10. I don't want to be super biased and give it a 10 out of 10 because obviously there was some snoozers like Gio said, but I give it a 9 out of 10. That was super fun to experience live. I got to see so many of my favorites. And thank you all for joining for this episode, and we'll catch y'all next time with another episode. But until then, remember, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. Thank you, and we'll catch y'all in the next episode.